The title isn't even clickbait. I'm genuinely turning £252,000 into £900,000 in a matter of months with these two conversions. So right now we're about to head down onto site. We're literally around 15 minutes out. We're just gonna check in on all of the progress because we're around 2 months away from completion. Obviously we're gonna get some content, you know, checking with the builders, see how things are going out in line with the closing out program and go from there. So we've just arrived on site. Both of these houses that you see behind me are around 12 weeks into the refurb. They're bringing in the plaster boards to get the property ready to be plastered. So let's head on in and see what they're actually doing. So right now you can see the place is an absolute state. We focused on getting all of the extension work done and out of the way so that we can focus on cracking on with all of the internals. So this area that we're standing in right now is going to be one of the 6 bedrooms of this property. And this is the key to get the uplift from 250,000 to 900,000 on the back end. So right now we're at the very top floor of the property in the loft space, and one of the key reasons why the value is going to be so high on the back end is because we're utilizing a space like this to pretty much get another room here and another room there. This is essentially 2 buildings wrapped up in one. So whatever we're doing to this property here, we're doing the exact same next door, which means the building will have a total of 12 ensuite rooms. So this side of the building is actually where the new entrance is going to be. Because this first half of the house is going to be a studio room, we've decided to move the door from the front to the side here. That way we're able to get enough space in order to make that a studio full ensuite room. That is where the original building stops, and everything here is pretty much new and a part of the extension. So what we've actually done is we've extended at the side by about ½ meter and then to the rear 6 meters, pretty much doubling the footprint of this existing house. And this is another reason why we're able to uplift the value so much on the back end. So how did I actually find this deal? Well, remember, it's 2, not 1. And with this first property, I actually bought it from a sourcer in one of the networks that I'm involved in. One of the things that we had to do was serve the neighboring property a party wall agreement. And when I went through that process, they ended up telling me that I could just buy next door as well. So they gave it to me with a £12,000 discount, and that's how we ended up picking up both of these properties that you see. So when I took on these 2 properties, there were a bunch of different obstacles and challenges that I had to overcome. At first, it was initially meant to take around 2 to 3 months, but lasted nearly 6 months in total. From my solicitors to my broker, there was a lot of miscommunication, which ended up leading to unnecessary delays in us being able to complete and finalize on the purchase of this property. Now, the key buying criteria for picking up deals like these are as follows: location, location, location. That is the most important factor when you're looking at different property deals. So why did I choose to pick up these properties in this particular area? Well, we're currently in Derby, and one of the main reasons why I chose this area is because it was one of the last major cities within the Midlands to become an Article 4 area. What this means is that once Article 4 is in place, any existing HMOs pretty much shoot up in value. So I wanted to get in, acquire as many houses that I could convert into HMOs as possible so that I could benefit from that capital uplift as soon as the new legislation comes into play. After that, the next thing I looked at was the property condition. With properties that are already in a good state, there's not really much room to add extra value. So what I look for is houses that are pretty much in a rundown or dilapidated state so that we could go through the process of spending however much we need to uplift and increase the value. Another key aspect that I was looking for when comparing different deals is the potential to add a lot of space. For those of you that don't know, the strategy that I'm going with these 2 houses for is a HMO conversion, which pretty much just means a house of multiple occupancy. And in order for us to do that in an effective way, I pretty much had to add all of this extra space to get enough room in order to accommodate for 6 different people in each of the houses. That again is one of the key fundamental reasons it's going to be worth so much more on the back end. A key thing holding us up from completing on this next property was an out-of-date charge on the property by Barclays Bank, which they just completely forgot to take off the register. So there was a lot of back and forth between Barclays and the landlord trying to get this charge issue sorted, and it ended up costing us about an extra month in delays. So after we completed on both of these properties and started the development, the next obstacle that we had to overcome was pretty much holding up any extension work as a result of poor weather throughout winter. One of the other things that held us up were certain contractors not showing up on time, which meant that the next stage of the development couldn't be carried out at the expected time, which in turn ended up pushing back the expected completion date of the entire job. So what I would say for new investors watching this, to stop yourself from experiencing these same types of setbacks and obstacles that I face, is pretty much having your ducks in a row, making sure that you've got a good, solid and trustworthy builder, as well as a project manager, also making sure that you have a solid power team that are familiar with each other and they can effectively work together in order to make sure that the conveyancing process is as smooth as possible. And that actually brings me on to my last point of how I raised the funds for this project. In total, once you factor in the purchase price of this one being £130,000 and next door being £120,000, that's a total of 250. But once you also factor in legal fees, stamp duty, and all of the other purchase associated costs involved, the total cash needed for both projects was round about the mark of £220,000. And how I actually went about raising this money was literally utilizing my social media. So for those of you that don't know, I've been documenting my journey on social media since the back end of 2023. And I'm talking about the highs as well as the lows of development and certain obstacles that I'd have to overcome in order to continue to move forward. So after my first project, when a lot of my initial capital was locked up in that house, the only way that I was able to continue to scale was by raising investor finance. So what I did after coming across the deal from the sourcer was getting in touch with certain people that I knew and letting them know about this deal that I was trying to take on. So by documenting what I was doing day on day in an attempt for me to raise the funds needed for these projects, I actually got in touch with someone that I know who saw my videos and liked what I was doing, and after having a conversation, they decided to invest a large part of what I needed to take on this project. And then next door, pretty much a similar thing happened. So in line with the private money I raised, I then leveraged bridging finance in order to fund the development and part of the purchase price as well. And in about 2 months' time, I'm going to start the refinance process, which will then repay the bridging loan that I took out, as well as repay all of the investors involved in both of these projects. But these projects still are not finished yet. We've got just about 10 weeks left, and I'm going to be documenting all of this on YouTube now as well, plus any future houses that I'm purchasing. So make sure that you stay around, like this video, subscribe, and let me know what you guys want to see moving forward.